Dr. Kemi Lawrence, it's Saturday, the 28th of September, 2024. I'm going to talk about the anti-gay law that was passed in Nigeria 10 years ago. In 2014, the National Assembly passed the anti-gay law and President Jonathan signed it. I was one of the big people who were against it because I didn't want Nigeria to be a homophobic country. I was coming from Canada in America. And if you know gays and lesbians in Canada and America, they don't bother anybody. They're just like you and me, nothing different. If you stab them, they're going to bleed red, just like you. They're just like a brown egg and you're a white egg. You break both eggs, you still see the white on the yolk. Everybody is the same. I hate homophobia. And I repeat, I hate homophobia. A lot of Nigerians attacked me, cursed me in the comments and all that. I cared less. You can continue to do that. But one day when you want to go to America or Canada and you show your anti-gay sentiments, watch that embassy deny your visa, boom. If you want to jackpot, okay, go to America, go to UK, go to Canada. Just go there and do your work, make your money. You're not supposed to go there and start showing your anti-gay sentiments on anybody because that will fetch you 30 years in a hate crime. Leave the gays and lesbians alone. I heard some of you say, oh, what if your child came home and said they were gay? Yeah, I'll support them. You didn't expect that, right? You didn't expect me to answer that way. It's a culture and a way of life for others. Let them live theirs. Just like the Americans and the Canadians will lock you up if you practice polygamy in their countries. We all have separate and different cultures. I'm just like President Obama, okay? If you see that little interview I did with President Obama during that second campaign in 2012 when he was rerunning, if you see that conversation I had with President Obama, what did I ask him? He said, I don't discriminate on anybody. I'm not homophobic. And if you know very well, it's the gays and the lesbians that helped him win that second term. Okay, let's go back to Nigeria. I've made it clear, I'm not homophobic, I've never been. Some of you already know that. If you want to see the stories in 2014, all you have to do is type Kemi Olunlawyer and anti-gay law, and you'll see all the blogs, all the stories, all the mainstream media. Now let's go back to Nigeria, like I said, and let's talk about this case with Bobrisky. Ever since the anti-gay law was passed, we have seen a lot of incidences of homosexuality in Nigeria. Considering there's a law in the books, we're finding a lot of homosexuality in northern Nigeria, especially in Abuja, the nation's capital. We're seeing crossdressers. We're seeing gays. We're seeing transgenders. We're seeing a lot of things. Abuja area mama is now late. But this is a young man who was a crossdresser and also a homosexual, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, who was actually lining up the streets for prostitution. Now, the death of Abuja area mama is not going to be investigated by the Nigerian police. They can't even investigate Mohbad's death. And you think they're going to really find out who killed Abuja area mama? I have information on that killing. And what I've discovered is that Abuja area mama was actually patronizing someone who thought it was a woman. And then they discovered it was a man. And they were angry. And then they took Abuja area mama's life. At the end of the day, I'm going to say a few things. This situation that we have with Falz and Bobrisky and Diddy, it really brings up a lot of things. It brings up a lot of questions. Many people have been calling Bobrisky a crossdresser for a long time. But Bobrisky is actually a man dressed as a woman. And he flaunts the whole fact that my man, her man, in a woman's body. Is this a way to disguise the fact that you're homosexual, Bobrisky? You are inside a man's body and you're always talking about your man. But no one has seen that. This is why I call Jonathan and the National Assembly of that time daft people. They were incredibly daft because when they passed the anti-gay law, they passed it for gays and lesbians. They never inserted cross-dresser, transgender, okay, and others, queer. You know, LGBTQ is what they call it, but Nigeria went for just the LG. You know what I mean? They only went for the gay and lesbians. So there is no clause in there for cross-dressers and other forms of LGBTQ. You see, the police actually tweeted that they can't arrest Bobrisky because he's not gay and he's not lesbian, he's not breaking any law. But what if all these cross-dressers are using it as a way to actually have their homosexual relationships? We once saw James Brown having intercourse with a woman, okay, ejaculating, and we saw everything going on. It was disgusting knowing that James Brown has shared to the public that he has HIV, and there was no protection being used. And we were watching the color of the ejaculation and everything. It was really disgusting. So this brings me back to Falz. I want to ask you a question, Folarin Falana. Since your whole cartel of the FFC, Falana family cartel, the FFC, is now bent on destroying VDM, this whole thing started with VDM attacking Bobrisky over homosexual behavior with big men in the government and in the business world. This is how it all started. And then VDM was arrested. Yabo Ojo and Tonto also put their own in there, saying that he defamed them. He called them this, called them that. He said they had sex at Naira Marley's. All that stuff is all bullshit. At the end of the day, VDM was arrested the second time. Now let's go back to Bobrisky on how VDM and Bobrisky started this whole conversation. Mr. Pinnock Beach Estate, Mr. this, Mr. that, different men that Bobrisky was patronizing. Is the Nigerian police not looking at this? They tweeted that they can't arrest him because he's a cross-dresser, he's not gay or lesbian. However, we have seen otherwise. There is a godfather now. Bobrisky has been caught talking on the phone to Falz about a godfather who will put him in an apartment instead of seeing the prison and remove him from the prison. Why are we not looking for these godfathers of Bobrisky? Bobrisky is still lying, saying that they made that audio up. There was no such thing. I've spent my time in prison. Now they've been invited by the National Assembly. So just to let you know, this is a more important thing that the government is looking at, more important than the IREV in Edo's election, by the way, just to let you know. I laugh at you guys in Nigeria. They shut down your IREV in Edo election, and you're taking all these guys to the National Assembly. I'm in support of that whole hearing, okay, because in America, you see how they summoned Zuckerberg and even Spiegel of Snapchat and everybody to the, to Capitol Hill, to America's Senate and House in Congress. So, Falz, answer this question for me. This song called Bop Daddy, to bop something is really to dance, and the daddy part. You went to see Diddy. Is Bop Daddy a way of telling us something about Puff Daddy? I've lost all my whatever. Bop Daddy, is that a secret way of telling us something went on between you and Diddy? Because now Diddy is in the heart. These things don't happen accidentally. God makes them happen. Diddy is in the spotlight for all these homosexual and heterosexual affairs and all kinds of allegations on that. Did you have a sexual relationship with Diddy? That's what I'm asking you, Falz. Because you're now suing, you and your sister and your father and your FFC cartel are suing VDM for defaming you and calling you gay. Calling you gay is nothing wrong. Okay, they're gay people. I started this broadcast with that. Calling you gay is not wrong. Okay? It might be a law in Nigeria, but it's not wrong. Don't fuck with us. You went to America. You know the Americans don't want to hear that nonsense. Especially gay Americans. They don't want to hear Falz saying, oh, someone called me gay. So gay people are not good. They're not good to your standards. I'm not homophobic, okay? Did you have a relationship with Bobrisky? Did you have a homosexual relationship with Bobrisky or Diddy? This is the question you need to answer to Nigerians. And I'm asking you that personally, okay? We need to know that, all right? I am a journalist. Journalists are not talking about your case in depth, but I am asking you, even as a retired journalist, did you have a sexual relationship with Bobrisky and Diddy? So Bop Daddy is not an ordinary song. Well, you got more streams and more money, but answer the question, please.